So now you made it to the lecture video. Click on lecture book. And when you click on lecture book, you're going to click on lesson 4 of unit 1. And today we're going to be discussing pages 28 through 33. So what I want you to do is pull this up on an editing software, so something where you can edit this paper and submit it after you're done. So today we're going to be going over the first problem on page 28. Continuing on to page 28, it says, Rosa is at the top of a climbing wall. She descends 48 feet of the wall in 6 equal stages. What number represents the change in Rosa's position at each stage? Now, the following diagram shows the change in Rosa's position at each stage. The top of the wall is the starting or 0 position. So in this example, our book decided to make a model. They knew that she had to travel downward from 0 to 48. Now you may be asking yourself, why did they make this negative? Well, it's because Rosa has to descend down this wall. It's not like she's ascending or rising up. So she's descending the wall in 6 equal stages. They knew that she had to go down from 0 to negative 48, and she had to do it in 6 equal parts. So they basically took your number line and flipped it on its head and made it go up and down. Imagine you had a number line that looked like this, and you just had to divide it into 6 different spots. You knew that you had to start at 0, which was right here, and then travel downward to 48. You knew you had to do that in 6 stages too, right? So I had to have 6 groups of some length that would give me negative 48. So what could that be? Well, I know from multiplication in the 3rd grade that 6 times 8 is equal to 48. And I know from a couple weeks ago that 6 times a negative 8 will give me negative 48. And there we have it, people. 6 times negative 8 will give me negative 48, which is what we want. Now, there's always more than one way to skin a catfish, like I've always said. And if you look further down on the page here, you can see that they had a different way to solve it as well. They thought about having the total change in feet, which was negative 48, and then have that divided by 6, which is the total number of stages that Rosa had to go down, which would equal the change in each stage in feet. Now let's continue on. You can see that we have a couple more questions that we need to ask ourselves. It says, now you will solve the problem from the previous page by reasoning about division. Rewrite Rosa's division problem from the previous page as a multiplication problem. Negative 48 divided by 6 is equal to something, and 6 times something is going to be equal to negative 48. And think about what you know about multiplying positive and negative integers. Will the missing number in the multiplication problem be positive or negative? Why? Now think about what you know. We know that a positive times a negative equals a negative. So our missing number right here will have to be a negative number because of the multiplication rules. Now it says, solve to find the change in Rosa's positions at each stage. So from the previous picture it model and from our explanation above, we know 6 times negative 8 will equal negative 48. So the change in the position at each stage is negative 8 feet. Now look at the division problems. Rewrite each as a multiplication. Then use the multiplication rule to decide whether the missing number is positive or negative. Given this information that we had above, 3 times some number would equal negative 15. Now that missing number is going to have to be a negative number. Why? Because a positive times a negative will give me a negative. Now, negative 3 times some number equals negative 15. That missing number is going to have to be positive. Negative 3 times some number equaling 15 means that the missing number is going to have to be a negative number. Use the multiplication rules to complete these statements about division with integers. So the thing about division with integers is the same as with multiplication with integers. When you divide a negative integer by a positive integer, the quotient or the answer is, well, it's the same thing whenever a bad thing happens to a good person, that's bad. So the quotient is going to be negative. Now when you divide a negative integer by a negative integer, that's the same thing as whenever you multiply a negative integer by a negative integer, or if something bad happened to somebody bad, that would be good. Now when you divide a positive integer by a negative integer, the quotient is negative. Now use what you just learned to solve the following problem. 45 divided by negative 9, or negative 9 goes into 54 how many times? Well, I know 9 times 6 is 54, so this would have to be 6. I want you to solve 18 on your own. This might be on the test next week, so keep that in mind. So let's continue on. It says a movie rental company deducts $7 from Sienna's account every month for a year. After 1 year, how much do movie rental fees change Sierra's account? Show your work. So she basically has Netflix, and they charge $7 in her account. So if they charge something, that means they're taking away money. So that means technically she's not gaining any money, but they are debiting her account $7. So she's getting -7 every month. And how many months are there in 1 year? Well, in 1 year, there are 12 months. Now, I could literally write, or I could write this simply as -7 times the amount of months in 1 year, which would be 12. Now, what is -7 times 12? -7 times 12, well, I know 12 times 5 is equal to 60, right? And 12 more added onto that is the same as 12 times 6, which is 72. If I added 12 onto that, I would get 12 times 7, which is equal to 484. So our answer would be she is charged $84. But would this be a negative number or a positive number? Well, I have a bad thing happening to a good person, so this would be a negative number. Or a negative integer times a positive integer will always be a negative integer as a product. So -84. Let's continue onward. Now the table shows the low temperatures in Alto for 5 days. What is the average low temperature? Well, to find the average temperature of something, you need to figure out basically the sum of everything here divided by how many days there were. So what is the addition of -4 plus -7 plus -13 plus -5 plus -5? And then all that added together divided by the 5 days. That will give us this answer here. Take your moment to figure out what that answer is. Which equation has a negative solution? Well, remember, this is the same as the multiplication rules. A negative divided by a negative would give me a positive solution, so this one does not have a negative solution. So this one doesn't work. Now this is an addition problem. A -6 plus a -2 gives me a -8. Is -8 a negative solution? Yes, it is. So that's a big old 10-4 there, good buddy. Now, is a negative number times a negative number a negative solution? Well, if a bad thing happens to a bad person, that's good. So this doesn't work. Now, how do I rewrite -2 minus -6 as an addition problem? Well, the first add-in stays the same. So -2 comes over. I change it from a subtraction problem to an addition problem. And then I take and I add the opposite. So what's the opposite of -6? That's 6. And this can be rewritten as 6 minus 2 because of the commutative property. And 6 minus 2 is equal to 4. which is not a negative solution. So B. So Seth chose C as the correct answer. How did he get that answer? Let's take a moment to look at C. Well, Seth got that answer because he didn't know the rules. And the rules are important in math. Seth thought that a negative times a negative equaled a negative. And that's not true, because we know a negative times a negative equals a positive. Got it? Good. Now I want you guys to work independently on solving pages 32 and 33. I want you to solve these on a separate sheet of paper, and I want you to submit them in the homework folder. So again, your homework is page 32 and 33. We will go over them in the first 5 minutes of class tomorrow. Have a great day.